are not even able to give bursary, yet we are done with term 1. University students, Honorable Speaker, are supposed to collect their exam cards subject to them paying fees, and some of these students rely on bursary from CDF. We are being taken in circles, Honorable Speaker. The financial is coming to an end. I have seen some constituencies, CDFCs, even purporting to take photos that they are launching bursaries just to save themselves from the angry students. But in reality, there is no money going to the universities. There is no money going to the schools. Honorable Speaker, this statement by the CS was made in your presence while you chaired that meeting, and we are not going to allow
this house to be taken in wild goose chase in the presence of our chair in that meeting and who is our speaker. Honorable Speaker, can you guide this house? What is the way forward in the matter of disbursing the CDF amounts that are balanced? Out of the 54 billion, they've only remitted 14 billion, and we only have 3 months to go. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Abuera, on the same issue?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, the issue raised by Honorable Kizairo is very, very grave. Honorable Speaker, you may not be aware that up to where we are, we have some grade 9 students who do not have classrooms, simply because the CDFCs had budgeted to use the money disbursed this financial year to fill the gap from where KPIL, from the Ministry of Education, was not able to provide funds for. We have grade 9 students who are having classes outside, under trees, in tents in this country. Honorable Speaker, the rains have come. In my constituency, on Sunday, the rain swept off a whole school. I do not have money in CDFC which we can use for emergency purposes. It is unfair for the CS, especially in a meeting where you are chairing yourself, to commit and purport to be that he would release money when in reality he knew very well he was not going to release money.
Honorable Speaker, we need your intervention in this matter so that we can serve students in the universities, students in colleges, and students in primary schools who do not have shelter. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Owen Baya, can you liaise with the ministry and report back to the House on Thursday afternoon on the schedules of disbursement of NGCDF?
Thank you. Much obliged, Honorable Speaker.
Now, we had called out order number 11. I'm told, Honorable Kajwang, you moved the motion, and Honorable Jematia, who? Honorable Sane is to second.
Honorable Sane will second. Yeah.
Honorable Sane, you are ready? Go ahead to second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, motorcyclists, commonly referred to as border, are a very important segment of our transport system. Mr. Speaker, borders offer the last mile connectivity. They are the only accessible and cheap mode of transport in the dark and narrow alleys of our cities and all our urban centers. Most of the times, it is motorcycles that are entangled in the bushes and thickets of the countryside, trying to make sure that goods and services and people are delivered to where they are needed most. Mr. Speaker, border offer employment to our youth. Quite a big number of our youth are engaged in motorcycle transport, making a living and serving them as a reliable form of employment, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when the committee met different stakeholders and went through the petition 14 of 24 and interrogated all stakeholders, they found that there are 3 outstanding issues in the petition. 1, lack of recognition in law and by transport network companies, Mr. Speaker, by the motorcyclists. They also go through many agonies, including welfare issues, that they don't get the required protection in doing their business. Most of the time, they are being deactivated by the transport network companies without notice and in a very unjustifiable way, Mr. Speaker. Actually, it is, in a way, chastising cyclists without looking at their interest. And thirdly, Mr. Speaker, pricing has been an issue. Despite being such a huge segment of our transport system, motorcyclists end up being passive takers of prices, whereas they were supposed to negotiate and they were supposed to be a force to reckon in our market. They end up taking prices passively. So they were not getting prices commensurate to the work they do. They were not actually getting profits, and in that way, prices were unjustifiable in regard to what they do. Mr. Speaker, out of the triangulation of these 3 main factors, the committee realized that a committee came up with a raft of recommendations amenable to the sector's contribution in the country. One of them, to make sure that they are recognized in law and recognized by transport network companies, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker, regulations will help to level the playing ground for different sectors to make sure that they try to get the rules treat every person or every segment of the transport sector fairly and in a very transparent way, so that the sector can at least blossom in a very entrepreneurial setting, Madam Speaker. Further, the amendment of the 2022 regulation that has been recommended by the committee attempts to regulate and provide a safety net so that the players, the motorcyclists, the border-borders get the right protection against those extremes and abuses they have been facing in the past. Madam Speaker, that is to ensure that this sector also is recognized and can do business in a very thriving way without being agonized or mistreated. With those few contributions, I second, Madam Speaker.
He did. Okay, honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure on its consideration of the public petition number 14, 2024, regarding legal recognition and protection of e-hailing motorcycle riders and delivery personnel, laid on the table of this House on Thursday, 20th February, 2025. Those members who want to contribute to this debate, could you press the intervention button? Okay, Honorable now Irene Mayaka.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. And I hereby stand to support this particular report because, Honorable Speaker, e-hailing motorcycle services in this country have become one of those things that are called necessary evil. It has become a service that is widespread all over the country. Literally every county in this country actually has these services already happening. And Honorable Speaker, I have had an opportunity to also interact with how the legal framework has been done in some of the other countries, especially in Asia and some of the African countries. And I can tell you for a fact that, Honorable Speaker, because of them being able to put legal frameworks and recognition of this particular service, they've been able to even increase the efficiency and security, not only of the service providers, but also of the people who particularly consume this service. Honorable Speaker, one of the things that will really be helpful in this is data protection, because data protection in terms of the people who use any online platforms has become quite a big issue. And I like the fact that the committee has recommended that be one of the solutions to ensure that there's proper governance in that particular space. Honorable Speaker, we are also talking about automated payments and security. Because, Honorable Speaker, it can become very cumbersome if you see an e-hailing operator walking around with physical cash. So having automated payment processes for this will actually be very helpful. Honorable Speaker, I don't know if the committee had an opportunity, because I've seen one of the recommendations they've done is speaking directly to the e-hailing service providers who actually distribute food. So I don't know if they've had an opportunity to interact with what the Bawala of Mumbai in India have been able to do in that particular space. Because that is one of the oldest, most successful story when it comes to transportation of food deliveries. What the Dabawalas used to do, Honorable Speaker, and they're still doing, because it's a business that has been there for more than 130 years old, is that they collect food from the different homesteads in India and take it to the workers in another area. And it has been reported that they've had 99.9% accuracy in terms of collecting foodstuffs from the right homesteads and transporting the same to the right workers, and then again, still transporting those containers back. So this is one of those stories that I would really like for the committee to have a look at, in terms of, especially now that they're recommending for us to have a proper way, especially of distributing food deliveries, because that, Honorable Speaker, is a very sensitive area. Honorable Speaker, when you look at some of the recommendations the committee has made, which make a lot of sense, and you can also see that they actually affect different departments and different areas and different ministries. But my worry, Honorable Speaker, and I'm hoping the committee is listening to this, is that under each and every recommendation, they've given a timeline of 90 days for different ministries for them to be able to process the recommendations and bring their reports back to the House. But my question, Honorable Speaker, is because in the recommendation, they do not even specify when they would like these different ministries to start. A ministry like Ministry of Information and Communication, which has been tasked with developing a digital courier services network, could start its job tomorrow. And then another ministry like for transport, which has another task, starts their report writing after 1 week or after 1 month. And all of them have a period of 90 days. If this is not happening at the same time, it means that we will finish this particular parliamentary calendar without an actual formidable multi-sectoral engagement on how this legal framework will have been done. And this will render the work by the committee to become a process in futility. So therefore, Honorable Speaker, I'm really hoping that the committee is listening to this and that they will take into consideration to ensure that if you're having different ministries working on coming up with legal framework that is relevant to the specifications of that committee, then you need to have this happening concurrently so that we can have an actual report in 90 days, rather than not giving them particulars of what they want to process this. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, having said that, and with that recommendation that I'm giving to the committee, I'd like to once again just support this particular report and hope that this is finally something that we will actually be giving back as a gift to the people who are operating in this particular space, so that we make it more efficient and safer for both the service providers and for the people who are actually using that service. With those few remarks, I support and I submit. I thank you.
Honorable Member for Seme, Honorable James Nikal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. for this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I arise to support this report because, Madam Speaker, this report, the petition was based on a very competent view that when the National Transport and Safety Authority was making the regulations for transport network companies, owners, drivers, and passengers, regulations of 2022, they actually excluded motorcycle riders. And on the basis of only that, they did not or were not able to engage them during the process. So that is actually a big omission. And Madam Speaker, I want to say something a little more, because you have noticed, you may have noticed even now, even the implementation of the traffic laws, the motorcycle riders seem to have actually been left. If you look at how they're riding in town, they don't seem to be actually observing traffic regulations. As much as it may be seen that we are being fair to them, they're busy, but there's a big danger. We are actually exposing them. So if you look at accidents that they go through, it is because we are not implementing the laws that protect them. Laws protect people. Sometimes the laws protect you even for your own self. So I was very concerned that even when they were making these regulations, they left the motorcycle riders out. So that's really something we should never serve. Over the period, they realized that the sector has grown, and it is not only motorcycle riders now. There are three-wheeled riders, there are bicycles, and there are even pedestrians who actually has been involved, particularly in courier services. So that we then have left out a very huge aspect. And if you look at courier services, I don't think there's any that actually is doing more work, volume of work, than the motorcycle riders. And again, it has now been realized that it is actually now the most digitized sector. And because of that, they're being digitized. The Kenya Revenue Authority has actually received so much revenue, up to 15 billion in the year 24,000. People who bring an industry that brings that much revenue should never really be ignored or left out. So, Madam Speaker, having looked at those, then you look at the recommendations. I actually support the recommendations arising from the observations and even what we see ourselves. They said that it is now the Cabinet Secretary for Ministry of Roads and Transport to revise the regulations. It goes without saying. If regulations leave out a major player in the industry, it needs to revise, and I support that wholeheartedly. And again, a very important recommendation that they have put in place. When they bring the regulations they revise them, they need to do an impact assessment on what they are proposing. Something that we often ignore when we are making policy changes. The impact it will have on the industry, the impact it will have even the traffic in town. So again, that is extremely important. And then when now we're talking a very digitized industry, then we must look at the issue of data protection. So again, it is important that if we get now them in the regulatory framework and we accept that they're digitized, then we must go for data protection that will protect of them, the people who are using it, the operators themselves. So that is extremely, because when you go into this digitized industry and you give your information, you give so much information, you are not even sure where it is reaching, what it will be used for. So I think that is actually very, very important. Then it is also important that there are a lot of these industries that actually are run from people from outside. It is important that they have local presence. It is possible in the digitized industry to actually run a whole industry without even an office in the country. I think that is something we must avoid. So that, with that, Madam Speaker, I support this report. Thank you.
Okay, honorable members, I can see that there's no one who has pressed the intervention button. So, honorable member for Kwanza, you wanted to contribute? You may proceed then. Any member who wants to contribute, please press the intervention button.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. And much as I haven't read so much the report on this, but given that this particular sector actually is one of the biggest sectors in the economy of this country, there's a huge population that actually are on this border issue. And therefore, I think also, as the last speaker has just spoken, we have to have at least headquarters for border so that be able to know just how much money you can be able to, how much revenue you can be able to get from this particular sector for the benefit of our country, and therefore for be able to have to recognize this particular sector so that it can be able to at least whoever is participating in it actually participate positively on the same thing. Secondly, given that it's a sector that actually gives the best services in this country, again, we should have the regulation that can be able to guard this particular sector, because as it is, Madam Speaker, border is just a hazard. Anybody, even you and me, can be border out there, can be from here, you can be able to do whatever they can do. But I think let's have at least this sector legalized so that whoever gets involved actually is actually registered. We know who is from where, so that can be able to trace, if there's anything else, you can trace the actor on the same thing. Because what happens is that border you have an accident that they have caused and they disappear. You can't even get them. And therefore, I think it's only good that we'll be able to, when somebody buys a motorcycle, whatever it is, he is actually registered, so that can be able to know exactly where he's operating from. And if anything happens, as it happens every other day, you can be able to trace this particular individual and be able to do whatever act, either for reward or whatever it is. So given that kind of thing, the Speaker, I think this is important that we actually register and legalize this particular operation, which is not. I've had a time to go to Pakistan, and Madam Speaker, in Pakistan, they are more than anybody else, because tukutuku, you see that one, plus motorcycles are all over the place, and they give a very good service. In fact, I think we should go to do benchmarking in Pakistan to be able to know that this particular sector is one of the best sectors in that particular area. I think I didn't go to China, to India, but Pakistan, I think when I went there, I saw they are very organized. And when it comes to delivery of services, they are very good, and they are because they are registered. You trust somebody comes to you and is supposed to deliver maybe some parcels, whatever, or food, what have you, you will be able to give this particular person because he's actually registered. Here they are not. I want to be told whether they're registered or not, and that's one thing that, Madam Speaker, if we don't do that, then we are not actually developing our country. And therefore the economy will be at least, as somebody mentioned, will be actually be going a step up. The other thing is security for this particular one. And Madam Speaker, again, if we don't register these particular individuals operating in this sector, you will see a lot of things that are happening out there, particularly the insecurity and security, because some facts use them to do odd things which are not actually good. And therefore, I think the best thing, again, we do is to pass this particular report, confirm it, and have it actually have the people who are in that particular sector recognized and registered for security reasons. With those few remarks, I support this report.
The Honorable Member for Limuru, Honorable John Kiragu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I like to support this petition by the Digital Border Drivers Association. It is a very important petition because it addresses very key issues that affect the riders. One, they are seeking legal recognition. We know that it is an industry that is thriving, but for unknown reason, they were omitted when we were recognizing the others who are in the same business. Madam Speaker, these people are the ones that are used to deliver various items, including food deliveries. And one of the key things that comes out of this petition is that the transport network companies, there is a mix-up as whether these people are independent contractors providing this service or they are employees of these network companies. You will find that, and it is clear in the petition, that there are times when the riders are given pricing. Sometimes this pricing includes some discounts which the networks have already given the clients. And when they are providing this service, sometimes they wonder whether they are independent or they are employees. And if they are employees, then they should be protected as employees. Madam Speaker, this unfair treatment is one that the petitioners are asking for us to address. And Madam Speaker, the other problem that we have here is that these transport network companies, even if you wanted to reach out to them, they don't have local contacts. There is no telephone number or contact number where you can call locally. Madam Speaker, you are forced to call overseas if you have to complain. It's something that we have to look at because nobody should be doing a business here in this country if that entity is not registered here. Madam Speaker, they have called for various regulations in this petition, and I think it's important that we help them to make sure that the industry is properly regulated, that that recognition is provided, and above all, Madam Speaker, the people who are in this industry and they are using digital data, it's important that this data is protected, and particularly for those people who are providing that service. You can imagine sometimes when that data is given or glanced into people who are not lawful, it becomes a security problem for the people who are in this sector. Madam Speaker, I think we cannot ignore these petitioners. These are people who are already contributing to the economy of this country. They are all asking whether they are three-legged vehicles or two-legged. They are people who are actually providing the delivery or the transport service. So they should not be discriminated just because that they use other modes of transport that are not known as major transport vehicles. So, Madam Speaker, I support the recommendations that have been provided here, and the ministries that are referred, they should do their part so that we make sure that we relieve the pressure that is with this border drivers association. I support. Thank you.
Okay, the Honourable Member for Suba North, Honourable Millie Odhiambo.
You announced.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I do wish to support the motion.